Welcome back to Strategy Room, the Variety Hour. And don't forget to write in strategyroom@foxnews.com if you have any questions for our next guest. So welcome. We have Giovanna Garcia, the author of Why Chinese Women Are Not Broke, Real Life Stories and Proven Keys for Success. And we have it right there. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And now I wanted to ask you your story, which I assume inspired putting together this entire book, this collection of other stories.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Okay, sure. Real briefly, I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I came to America on my own with no friends, no family when I was 16 years old. Hardly speak any English. It was quite an adventure. And then when I was in my mid-20s, I started a computer business with $300. I basically started by making 100 cold calls a day because no one knows you exist. And after 4 months into it, it was successful enough that I can go out and lease a space. Long story short, I kept the company for 12 years. I took my $300 investment initially, took it into a multi-million-dollar corporation. After a good 12-year run, I sold it and retired, thinking to live the good life. Gave that a try for 4 months. I went to Europe, had a great time, and then I felt a void in my heart. And that's kind of when I became searching for what my purpose in life is. And then I decided that inspirational speaker is my passion and my purpose. Everything kind of makes sense, and I can tell you more about that later. But as I become an inspirational speaker, then the book idea came about. So that's kind of my synopsis.
Sure. And then the book idea, is that because maybe throughout your inspirational speaking, you met people who were sharing their stories with you?
The book idea came because after 2009, watching 2008, and seeing what's happening to everyone around me in the world, in America, I decided that I need to do something to help everyone to pull themselves up by the bootstrap. And being an immigrant myself and have the good core value from the home country, I'm still very connected to them. I see that I need to send a message to America to remind everyone, why are we here? We're here in America not for the drive-through window, not for the drive-through Starbucks, the on-demand movies. We're here for, all of us are immigrant at one point, our lineage. And we came here, didn't for those convenience. We came here for opportunity, right? All of us came with suitcases of hopes and dreams, from our suitcases, and then in our heart and our back, it's carried with us those core values from our home country. And I wanted to remind everyone that if we remember that, then we can navigate in this fog and we can, prevail no matter what.
Okay. And what is, let's say, a good piece of advice that you give to people if they just hit a wall, they're very frustrated? It's, what is the piece of advice that you tend to give most? I guess women. You interviewed a lot of women, so
yeah. My advice will be universal for men or women. Really, is to remember what is most important and why you're doing what you're doing. Because if I call that the farmer's analogy. Okay. It's like a farmer. When you go out farming, you decide what kind of crop you're going to plant for the year, and then you work all year for that crop. You don't change in midway. Yeah. You really stay with that, and you weather the storm, right? When storm comes, when freeze is over, you stay put and you do what you can to make it work because you keep focused on the end result. So my advice to anyone that's facing adversity or difficult time right now is to remember, even though you might be down right now, that is just a moment in time right now. That is not who you are. The big picture of who you are, you got to remember that and keep on going.
Sure. And there were 100 Chinese American women that you spoke to.
Yes.
So were there any particular stories that really stood out to you?
Many of them are many of them are amazing and inspiring. I myself being an immigrant, so I have a heartstring that is softer to the one that are first immigrant themselves. And every day I have a different top story. Depends on what I walk past and what I see. And right here in New York, I have a professor that I interviewed. She is in her 80s, so she lived an amazing life. She's seen many, many things. And she wrote her first book that is a bestseller, and it took her 10 years to write it because this is before fax machine, before email, so she had to get in the car and do all the research. And she had 4 kids at the time, and then when she finished writing the book, when it finally got published, after 10 years of hard work, her husband left her. So she talked about, what it's like to be a single mom back in the days when there was no child support and no service to help you and how to make it. And her, at the end of that interview, I said, what is the one thing you want to tell people out there who are single parent and going through tough times? She said, hardship make you like strong like steel. And I thought that was really profound. She said, when you have hardship, just know that, face it, and when you can overcome it, you'll be stronger. So it's better.
Sure. And now I wanted to just read a few things and tell me how these come up in the book, how these different issues, it says discipline versus freedom, I guess different values coming from one place to another. So what were some of the things? I mean, I can list a few, the humbleness versus assertiveness. So talk about these themes.
Those like, as I talk about, reconnecting to our core value from our home country, wherever you come from, even though I say those good old-fashioned core home values are good for you, nothing in extremes are ever a good case, right? You always have to take in moderation. So some of those core values, if you take it 100% of the time, it's not going to work. So the key to success is keeping those and then marrying the way of life in America, the freedom, ingenuity, and creativity in today's world. So you're mixing the two and finding that balance. So when I say humbleness versus assertiveness, let's take that as an example. My core value back home was being humble. And I find a lot of older country have that. You got to be humble, and if someone say you did a good job, oh, that was, I was lucky. You kind of brush that off because you don't want to be big-headed. What that didn't work for me when I started my own computer company on my own. I'm not physically imposing. I'm kind of small. And back in the days when I started, woman was not very a norm in that industry. So going to try to get contract, and I'm being humble didn't work. I was like, oh, this is not a big project, and this is not, that's not going to get the contract signed. I really have to get out of my comfort zone and learn to be more assertive, and really explain to people why they need me. So it's about finding that perfect sweet spot for you for success. Not too humble, not too assertive, because too much assertive can get into aggressive. So it's finding that. So I think everyone need to kind of really assess what works for you as an individual.
Sure. And we have a question. Jamie writes in and says, what advice would you give a young businesswoman who has been running a business for 4 years and is looking to have kids soon? How do you balance children and business?
I would say that first thing is to not have guilt. So you need to understand that as a provider, you have to have, run your business. And as a mother, you need to love and nurture your children. And I'm a mother myself. I need to make adjustments, so I might not be able to spend all day with my son, like a stay-at-home mom have that luxury. I don't have that. But what I do have the time to spend with my son, I make sure I'm there 100%. In other words, I'm not talking on the cell phone, chit-chatting, checking email. I really make sure that making my time count when I'm with my son. And then because I'm working my business, I also have the luxury to have a little bit of financial support, so I can, make sure I have good, in my situation, I have childcare in my home so that I can, while I do my work, I can look over, make sure that he's being well taken care of, and be selective of who you get help from.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. So the book is Why Chinese Women Are Not Broke. I don't know if you want to pull it up one more time. And Giovanna Garcia, thank you so much. It was very nice talking to you.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.